Hey, Unchainers! This is To Emerth, and you're listening to the Unchaining Me podcast. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Unchaining Me podcast. I am your host. Welcome. If this is your first time, where have you been? Just kidding. So glad to have you. Please give all the other episodes, different seasons, an ear. You might get one or two things that you may be able to take away. If you like it, share it, review it. If not, it's okay. And yeah, thanks for joining me. If you are returning, thanks for your support. Don't forget to review, guys. Reviewing makes it more visible for other Unchainers to find it. You guys, I am so excited, so happy, so fulfilled that our Mighty Networks page has finally opened. I have been mentioning to you guys that I will no longer be on social media after a certain time, which I haven't yet decided. I just want to give it enough time for people on social media to really understand and learn and grasp the idea of Mighty Networks. And then when I feel comfortable, when I feel like I've done all the explaining and educating, I will transition fully. That's in the works. But the aim is to fully transition by the end of the year. Mighty Networks is a community building platform. It's not social media at all. It is where you pick different groups. It's almost like a Facebook group, but it has its own app. It's no distractions because the only thing you see is the feed and the page of that page that you're following or that network that you are a member of. So if you are a member of the Unchainers group, which is my group, our group, then that's all you're going to see. It's going to be the things I post, the things other members of the Unchainers group, the Unchainers network post. It's courses, live streaming videos, it's group coaching, I'm spilling my guts. Everything is out now. It is book club that I am launching there as well. And today's episode is going to be all about community. It's all about the longing we have for belonging. And I've had this since I've been a little girl. And most of you guys listening to me, I know you are, we share a background, Ethiopian, Eritrean, or you're an immigrant, daughters of immigrants from somewhere. And we know how we grew up. We grew up running around in villages and little cities and areas, Sefer, Mender, whatever you call it. And we didn't even know who was who at some point. Everybody was family. Everybody was a parent of some sort, a person of authority. And there was that sense of community, that sense of belonging. And it had its good, right? I am a firm believer in everything being able to teach you something. Yes, there were some boundaries that were crossed as a result of it that we are now having to heal from. Really not having clear hierarchies as to who do I look up to, who is really a person who is allowed to discipline me, whose footsteps am I following, and who's who in the zoo, really. What is my world like? Where does it begin? Where does my boundaries end? So it was confusing in some ways, don't get me wrong. But in a big way, it gave us a sense of belonging. It gave us a sense of community. And I want to talk a lot about how it's hard as a diaspora to come to a very highly solitary and individualistic community that basically just rips that sense of community and belonging from in and out of you. and how hard that is. How we shouldn't be surprised that most of us are suffering from different kinds of mental illness and different kinds of just traumas that are bubbling up. And again, I am not a black and white type of person, because this solitary, this what's the word I'm looking for? Finding yourself alone. What is the word I'm looking for? It'll come to me soon. This solitude, yes, solitude is the reason why I was able to listen to those voices, those yearnings, why I was able to be aware of my tendencies, my personality, my trauma. Really, who is Imert? What makes me who I am? What are the mistakes I've made in my life? Of course, the mistakes I learned from and the mistakes that made me who I am now, but still things that I should learn from. That solitude, this confusion that coming to America has plunged me into, became that petri dish where my success was able to grow on, to flourish on. But for many people, that doesn't happen. For many people, it's just suffering. They stay suffering. They stay alone. A lot of women end up in marriages that don't fulfill them, because they come thinking, oh, the wedding. Oh, I'm fulfilling something a woman is expected to fulfill. So if I'm a wife, then I should be happy, right? If I'm a mother, then I should be happy, right? And from some of my clients and how the trend kind of happens, and this common theme of marrying someone they barely know, marrying someone that they felt they loved or they felt they connected to, or the honeymoon period of, dating him or her for that matter, when she comes to Ethiopia with all sorts of admirable diaspora qualities and things for that matter. There's no shame in liking the shiny things and new things that people from America and the other Western countries tow with them when they come to poor old Ethiopia, right? And they come here, going to Macy's and going to Burlington is not a big deal here. And everything is normalized after a while, and they're staying home raising kids. And then that solitude comes. There's no community. The noise and the yearning and the change comes from within, and they don't know what to do with it. Where is the community then? Where is the support then? This is when we need it. This is when you want to connect with other people who are going through the same things, similar things, but with the oversight of someone who is not an expert, but who has gone through it, has figured out something, has squeezed the juice out of that, and has gotten some wisdom out of it, and has gotten to a better place, and is a little further along the journey, that can then show you a different perspective. You guys, had I had such a person, such a community, such a group, such a network, when I was going through those times, I would have deemed it priceless. I would have jumped on it. I would have not blinked an eye to sign up, to join, to register, to move. Because, guys, I moved, I don't know how many times, how many apartments, how many places. I moved 4 states. Well, 3 of them were close to one another. But I went from place to place. I moved from relationship to relationship faster than you can imagine. From friendship to friendship faster than you can think. Thinking if I change external things, then I will make it. Then I will be better. Then things will change. Then I will be happier. Then I will be successful. And that was not the case. There was a sense of individuality that I liked. There was a sense of me that I enjoyed at the time. But really, if you scratched the surface and went within, I was in agony because what I needed was connection. We all need it. We all want it. We are social animals. None of us want this aloneness. The biggest issue with Western culture is that it puts so much emphasis on that individual journey and individuation, and it lacks focus on community. And you say, oh, we have social media and we have the internet, and as much connected as it's made us, it has its own downsides. I don't think we're connected more because of social media, and I don't need to preach about that. You guys know what I'm talking about. But there's nothing wrong with making use of what we have as we build to make the connection even deeper, to make it more interpersonal, to make it more practical, to make it more tangible, right? So we can actually gather and do things. And that's one of the things that I envision for this community that I'm building on Mighty Networks, is to have meetups, actual meetups within states, within zip codes, in the DMV, because most of us are around here, or in California or in Texas, where most of us are gathered. We can have meetups where we can meet monthly or even weekly, depending on our number and the need. We can meet in person based on our interests. So to give you a little bit of, I wouldn't say background, because most of you really know my story. I want to show you how important community is. One, from really the scientific point, why is community important for Unchaining? I want to talk about that. And then, why was community important for me? And community, maybe not, hundreds of people at once doing things for me, but connection with another human being. How those milestones, those points, pivotal points, cross sections in my life, forks on my road, were so important that I can tell you flat out that I would not be here without those moments. I would not be here. I'm not self-made. The millionaire's coming. Okay, stay tuned. But I am not a self-made unchainer. Of course, I'm continuing to unchain. There's no expert. By now, I hope you get it. But there were people along my path that gave me permission, that supported me, that allowed me, that showed me things that I wasn't able to see, that I was too blind, that I was too hung up on details, or not paying attention to details. You need other people. You cannot be stuck in your kitchen, in your bedroom, in your home, in your apartment. You cannot stay there. You cannot just journal your way out of it, out of depression, or out of feeling stuck, out of feeling like a failure, out of that mentality of lack, out of feeling like you're a single mom and therefore you don't deserve happiness or respect, out of feeling like divorce is imminent and therefore the society is going to spit you out. You can't just chit-chat with your best friend about it and get a way out of that. You need community of other people who are on a different point of that same path, who can then tell you, I know. First and foremost, what's healing is the I know part. I get it. Empathy, approval, validation, coming from a person who gets it. How healing that is. Most of my clients say this to me. No one has ever said that to me, they say, when I tell them, no wonder you feel this way. Something as simple as that sentence, it's understandable that you feel stuck. It's understandable that you feel like you're carrying the whole family on your shoulders. Of course, you're the one who's working 9 to 5 or who's working 8-hour shifts at night, and you're the one who's putting lunch in the kids' lunch boxes and dropping them off too. and there's no love, there's no conversation with your husband, and you don't feel nurtured and appreciated, of course you feel stuck. Just that appreciation of what they're going through breaks chains. That's what unchaining is. Unchaining is not reading blogs. Unchaining is not just watching YouTube videos or being inspired. It's a part of it, but it's not all that. And you don't do it on social media, because next to the blog, there is an ad trying to get your attention. Because next to this YouTube video that could potentially inspire you into taking action, there is that old friend that used to annoy you who just gave birth to twins, and you really wanted twins for a very long time. So you go into comments to see who commented on her twins video or picture. And there goes that ability to have unchained. You see where I'm going with this? You need a page, you need a community dedicated for unchaining. This process is serious. There's a reason you're listening to me right now. There's a reason you've come back to this podcast again and again. There's a reason I do it. There's a reason I've dedicated my life for it. Yes, it gives me joy, but more than that, and yes, it is my livelihood, but more than that, I would do it for nothing, because it's my purpose, because it's the path that my life takes, whether or not there's an incentive in it. The incentive itself is the unchaining. It's the process, it's the metamorphosis of it. It's the transformation of it. So social media is not the place for it. And it limited me for a very long time, because as a continuing unchainer, the things I struggled with were things like, I want to post about my friendship journey. And a lot of my clients struggle with this. Boundaries in friendships, approval seeking in friendships, people pleasing in friendships. I want to say no, but I said yes to my friend. And I hate her for asking this when she knows I have 2 kids and I can't pick up hers. And she asked me, but I said yes, so I'm mad at myself. So I want to write something about it and share a video. But guess what? I know there are people who follow me that used to be friends with me, that know me when I used to do those things for them. Say yes when I want to say no. So trying to muster the strength to put that out there, while I know they would come and watch it from time to time to be like, what's Timmy up to? She hasn't posted much. Maybe she's depressed. And then I keep thinking, do they want me to be depressed so they feel good about, not being friends with me anymore? You know how the ego works? It's crazy. However unchained I would like to think on the ego level, my core self, my soul knows it's a lifelong process and I'm not perfect. And that's okay. But the energy I waste entertaining those thoughts until I'm able to bring my thoughts back to the present moment and back to my higher self and back to my core values, I could have posted a beautiful, inspirational, and educational video on a dedicated Unchainers app. You guys see the difference? That's when I said, okay, I'm sold. I'm going to subscribe to this Unchainers app and I'm going to offer it to my followers and to all the Unchainers. This is about to be a community of Unchainers, serious Unchainers, not those people who are like, spectators. Let's check on what she's up to, or people that feel like competing, or there's no reason for that. I have fellow coaches, fellow healers, fellow guides in the community that taught me what they know. Shout out to you, Adeye. She taught me what she knows on this platform because it worked for her. There's no space for competition because we both know what we offer. We both know that what I offer is not what she offers. There's no way that she can teach what I teach the way she teaches it, or the vice versa. There's no way she can teach what I teach. There's no way I can teach what she teaches the way she teaches it. So we have evolved and enlightened ourselves in these areas, and we continue to enlighten ourselves in different areas. And that's what we want to offer to our community. Away from ads, away from cat videos. There's space for cat videos and ads and your friend's twin babies if you want it. There's value in laughing. There's value in connection with your friends' kids and families. And you can go to social media for that. But this is going to be for dedicated unchaining. You will take it seriously. Why is community important? Community is the single best way to navigate rapid change. And change we are going through. There's so much going through. We're going change spiritually. We're going through rapid change in education, in politics, in the way our kids are being taught, the way gender identity is evolving, sexual identity is evolving. You can shy away from talking about it and bury your head in the sand, but it is a thing and it is going on. If you don't navigate it through community, if you don't acknowledge how you feel about it and bring it out to process it and somehow find a way to walk with it, it's going to be very difficult to live through such a rapidly changing society. You cannot be an ostrich. An ostrich buries their head in the sand. We can't do that. Not with our kids going out living life in a different society, in a different time. Community helps you deal with it. Community helps you navigate. The community that knows where you came from, what your values are, and how you're struggling to accept, how you're struggling to move on with such rapid change, will hold your hand and help you go through it. You can debate. You can share. You can be vulnerable. I'm struggling with this. Vulnerability. And someone else will say, me too. And someone else will say, I struggled too. And this is how I got through. And then you get to pick. Does this work for me? Let me try. Oh no, this one does not work. Let me try that one. And then you get to decide. That's what unchaining looks like. That's the nitty gritty part of unchaining. That's the business of it. It's not some simple magic wand you wave and then, it's not a Facebook post you read and you comment hearts. That's not unchaining. The process is painful. The process is uncomfortable. So we gotta be uncomfortable together. Away from cat videos and your kids' twin babies and ads. Another point. Why is community so important to us for unchaining? Community is the single best way to change habits. Okay? I don't know about you, but I know discipline and willpower, it only gets me somewhere. Like maybe until January 16th, if I start like a New Year resolutions, maybe I'll get to January 16th. Oh, actually January 10th, because my son's birthday, the 16-year-old is, they're both 16, is January 10th. And by then there's going to be cake. So there goes my diet. There goes my exercise. So willpower and discipline only gets me that far. But have community, have accountability. Have someone saying, I'm struggling with this. What are you doing to get ahead? Have someone tell you, this is what's working for me. Have someone hold you accountable. That's what gets you lasting change. That's what takes you further. Another point. It gives you identity. And identity, it's a double-edged sword. identity can be such an icky thing. That's how you see people so attached to their spiritual, like religious identities or tribal identities or racial identities or even sexual identities. And it becomes me versus the other, right? I am this, I am right, I am superior. The rest of y'all can go to hell, right? Not that kind of identity. But the way we can make identity work for us, it's one of those things. You can't fight it. You can't, it's the ego, right? Identity is based on the ego. You can't flush it down the toilet, or you can't just throw a grenade at it and then poof, it's gone. So since it cannot disappear or be dealt with, you can transmute its energy to work for you. How? By choosing positive identities to associate with yourself. So with your habits, I've mentioned it in other podcasts before. With your habits, you can say things like, what would an athlete eat? That identity of an athlete is important to you. Okay, you've identified as an athlete. What would an athlete eat right now? Would that athlete eat that slice of cake at their son's birthday party? Or would they order some chicken wings without the skin, and they'll just nibble on the dip with carrots and celery? Okay? So the same way, once you get that unchainer identity, which I am fully embodied in, I am an unchainer. And it feels so good that it's my title. My ego just loves it. Like, it's gold. I love that me and my husband came up with that name. And we were in Ethiopia, in Debre Zeit, when we came up with that. Because I really felt chained and tied to create something new online. And it's like, I just want to be free to do what I want. I want to be free to be the woman I know I can become. I want to be free to speak my truth, but I'm so tied with validation and approval seeking and what would people say about me. I just want to be free. I want my chains to break. I want to unchain. And my husband's like, that's it. Unchaining me. And it's just so nice. But I'm offering that as an identity. I'm offering that as a process and a practice for my sisters and brothers. So imagine, what would an unchainer think? What would an unchainer do? When you get pissed off about a comment online, when you start assuming what your friend is thinking by not responding to you after she reads a message, what would an unchainer think? The chained person would think, this friend is putting me on red or leaving me on red because she hates me and doesn't respect me. What would the unchainer think? The unchainer would think, maybe the kids are sick. Maybe the toddler's having a tantrum and she read it but then couldn't respond. It's not because she thought about what I did to her 2 years ago. You see where I'm going with this? Identity is very, very addictive, and it can go a bad way, like I said earlier, but you can make it work to your advantage by being attached to your unchainer identity. And these networks help you with that, because you will be logging in and seeing what other unchainers are up to. You will be sharing thoughts. You will be DMing them. There will be subgroups. Are you a parent raising teenagers? There will be a subgroup for that. Are you a parent raising toddlers? There will be a subgroup for that. Are you divorced, going through a divorce, having gone through a divorce? There will be a group for that. Struggling with just anything closer to connected to divorce. Are you co-parenting with someone and maybe raising a blended family? There'll be a group for that. How do you deal with an ex who is very negative during pickup and drop off, or who's not staying on top of the routines that you have agreed to for your kids? There's going to be a group for co-parenting and blended families. There's going to be a group for parents with teenagers. How do you bridge the gap of the Habesha parents who just can't seem to learn how that these kids are growing in a completely different environment and completely different time? And we need to bow down and connect with them, not the other way, dragging them up. that's a cause for conflict. There'll be a group for that. So going in as an unchainer to see what other unchainers are facing and doing about it is going to be the best way when you share that identity to make change, lasting change. Another point, community is the single best way to pursue results and transformation. You will have people holding you accountable. There will be badges given to members who achieve a certain milestone. If there is a wellness and weight loss goal that you had and you achieve it, there will be some milestones reached and some badges awarded. It comes built in with the app that I will be utilizing. So it makes me so happy to see, and it's really a lesson in delayed gratification for me, because the reason I stayed on social media for so long was because I love quick gratification. Like, I loved the hearts, I loved the quick DMs. Ooh, I'm needed. Ooh, people love me. People love quickly, when you send me those loves and hearts and DMs. But long term, how many lives am I really impacting? I was not satisfied with that. Now my goal is, where do I want to see this community in a year? Where do I want to see myself in a year? What changes do I want to make on myself in a year? It's not about feeling good in the moment and how many shares and likes and reads have I gotten. That is the ego. That is something that makes me feel good now. But in the long run, how many K followers? Then what? What impacts have I made? The impacts I've made are the ones that I've had with my clients, that I've showed up for one-on-one over months and months of working together. And they have showed up to make their so this is also based on connection. But I know if community was added to it, if a network was added to it, that they can then, instead of fiddling on their social media and comparing themselves with someone else and tempting themselves with ads and spending money on Amazon on stuff that they don't need, instead of that, if they had an Unchainers community and an Unchainers app, then they would have been able to make those changes sooner, and those changes would have lasted longer. So these are one of the needs that I saw, one of the benefits that I saw in creating a community. So that just excites me. And especially as Ethiopians, Eritreans, as second generation and first generation immigrants, our chains were created, our chains were put on us through community, through identity. And the best way to break them one by one is that very same way they were put on us, through community, through talking, through vulnerability, through supporting, through testimonies, through encouraging, through inspiring, through accountability. You said you were going to do this. Did you do it? What do you need? Through oneness, through support, through personal connection, through educating one another. This worked for me. Maybe it will work for you. Through validating, through shame lifting experiences. Vulnerability is shame lifting. How much of your shame have you shared with an empathetic listener? If you haven't, no wonder you're carrying it all your life. And imagine when that shame lifting, empathetic listening, active listening comes from one of your own, a fellow Ethiopian woman, a fellow Ethiopian man. Imagine how powerful that's going to be, how transformative that's going to be when you feel heard, listened to, validated, acknowledged, esteemed, held, seen and supported. Esteemed? One of the biggest problems, chains that we have as Ethiopian women is self-esteem. Not being able to see how much we're worth without how we look, without how much money we have or how many kids or who our husbands are or what degree, without any of that. Just being valued as an existing life, as a human. It's so hard to coach that. But when community gives you that, it's much easier. When a group of people esteem you in high regard, a group of people that were raised as you, were chained the same way that you have been chained, when they give you that, it's so powerful. So just the logistics of this community. It's going to have a monthly meetup for book club. So we're going to vote on, I'm going to give you 5 books to pick. And the most voted book is going to be selected for our book club. And we're going to meet every month for 90 minutes to discuss the book. We're going to pick chapters, decide how many chapters we're going to discuss, and we're going to dive in. And our imaginations will take us wherever they want to take us. It's going to be a Zoom meeting. I will have Wednesdays for live workshops. So weekly workshops on Wednesdays. Just in that group, not online, not on Facebook, not on Instagram, not a free webinar or anything like that. That's going to be a weekly workshop only for members. You will have your own page that you have a login information for, an email, a password. And when you log in, you have your own page, your own homepage. You get to post inspirational things, questions if you have them, comments if you have them. You can DM another member, each other. You can be parts of groups that I mentioned earlier. Do you want to be parts of parenting groups, special interests, like I said, co-parenting, divorce, blended family, single mothers, and the different courses that I will prepare for those different groups will then be additional charge for those specific coaching courses. But the live workshops and the weekly meetups, the book club will be part of the monthly membership. There will be self-paced courses that you can take on your own time, and those will be available for purchase as well. I am absolutely thrilled to offer this. This is something I've worked on for months, and it gives me so much joy to offer it. And one person signs up and 10 sign up and 50, my dedication and my joy to show up and serve is exactly the same. It's going to grow at its own pace. I know 1 year from now, I will not be the same. And I know for sure whoever joins it won't be the same either. I know we're going to have so much testimony to share with one another. And I hope you will also make the decision to join us. That is what I wanted to share with you today. I hope I will see you on Mighty Networks. The name is Unchainers, not Unchaining Me. It's not about me. It's not my story. It's us. It's ours. We are all Unchainers. Until I see you with the next podcast or blog or post or in our own community on Mighty Networks, keep unchaining.